Buona tarda, everyone. My name is Levent. I appreciate all of you coming here. I know there's a lot of distractions outside, so it means a lot that you guys are here with me. It's my first time being in Unite. I've been with Unity for 3 years, and it's my first time on stage too, so if I'm a little awkward, I apologize. I'm more awkward off the stage, so good. Okay, good start. Yeah, so today I want to talk about a very underrated aspect of game design. So when we usually talk about monetization, we don't really think about like how we can leverage, how we balance our game for our benefit when it comes to monetization. And I wanted to touch base on that. So this is not going to be a super technical presentation. It's going to be more like a conversation. I'm going to try to make it more engaging. Hopefully, no one's going to fall asleep, but I'm not going to blame you if you do. So, yeah, enough blabbering. Let's start. My name is Levent. I'm an analytics consultant with Unity. I've been with Unity for 3 years, and before that, I was at Ubisoft, business analyst for AAA games, but I made the move to mobile. And I'm really happy to be here because I come from a data analytics background, and I found that the mobile data is a lot more sophisticated and interesting to look into. So yeah, I think this was the right path for me. So you might be asking, what does a game analytics consultant do? So I work with our strategic partners, and I try to help them optimize their monetization and performance in terms of first-time user experience or game balancing, game economy, and like monetization design. Different kinds of aspects. Me and my team work with the strategic partners to improve it. Alongside that, I don't know if you've seen reports like Unity Gaming Report 2023 or Mobile Insights Report 2024. So it's actually me and my team. We write them, publish them. This year, 2 days ago, we just published a Mobile Insights and Monetization Report. In the end, you can, other presentations added to, like there's a QR code in the end, you can check it out. Yeah, enough self-promotion. Let's go back to our topic. So we said we're gonna try to look into how we can leverage the game difficulty design into optimizing our monetization. But in order to do that, I think we need to start with from the beginning, right? And game design and gaming in general starts with the gamers. We need to understand different types of gamers because not everyone is looking for the same thing from the games, right? Some of are more into games, some of are a little more casual, low-key about it. For example, my favorite gaming franchise is this blue hedgehog, Sonic. I know I'm not 10 years old anymore, I'm 30, but I still like it a lot. And I like it because it's more challenging, it requires more mastery, and it gives me satisfaction in that way, the sense of accomplishment. But I know not everyone is into games like that. So we're going to look into this first, then we'll move on to difficulty curves. I said this was going to be about difficulty. What am I meaning by that? We'll look into that. And I'll talk about the sweet spot of the difficulty curves. And we're going to look into how they combine together, like how we can leverage difficulty curves into monetization. How does it curve into it? And we'll move on to, of course, it comes with its challenges, especially when it comes to balancing and making it fair to the players. And we'll finish it off with, okay, how can we measure that we're on the right path to success? Okay, let's start with players. I wanted to classify them from less intense to more intense. Most of you probably have heard of these terms before in other presentations or in your experience in the gaming environment. But yeah, so we have the casual players, and these are the players that enjoys it in a more low-key form, and the motivation here is usually the relaxation, the entertainment, the stress relief factor of gaming, and it gets a little more intense. Then we have the mid-core gamers, so they're more into games and they're seeking more balance, and the motivation is usually entertainment, competition, challenge, and of course we have our hardcore players. For example, me when it comes to Sonic. And the motivation is the mastery, the competition, the achievement. We also have our fourth set of gamers that I wanted to classify. These are the social butterflies, the people who usually only prefer to play social games, party games, And the motivation usually is this social interaction aspect of gaming, the collaboration, the community, and the competition, of course. And I did a lot of mention to motivation, right? I wanted to classify them in two different things because that helps me conceptualize the later parts of the presentation. So we have the internal motivations. These are usually about the gameplay aspect, like completing the level, right? It's not usually about the rewards, what comes after that, because I wanted to classify them as the external motivations, like the chests that you get after completing a level, or like bundle, the currency, the whatever. They are the external motivation, and the gameplay part is the internal motivation. Okay, we talked about the players. Let's go back to the difficulty. So I wanted to visualize difficulty in different ways so that we have an easier time understanding it. Let's go from the basic to more complex. We have the linear curves. It's straightforward. As you spend more time in the games, the game gets more challenging. But it is usually a steady increase, right? It's not too unpredictable. You kind of know what you're getting. So it's more low-key, more balanced, easier to design as well, and more accessible. It's better for casual players. But it can lack that excitement factor. It does limit the replayability factor, and also it can also be less engaging for those hardcore players that seek that excitement, the rush of endorphins. The next one is the exponential. So these are easy to learn, but hard to master. As you play longer, it gets more difficult and more difficult and more difficult. And they can be overwhelming for some players, because not everyone, as I said, desires to play a very difficult game. And it is harder to balance as you go on in the game. So that's the challenging part. But it does encourage the skill development, the mastery. So I think this is more preferable by hardcore players. We have our saw curves. So as you can see, it fluctuates. So you get a set of easy levels for 5, 10 stages. Then you get a difficult level. Then after that, you get easy again, then difficult. So this is the cycle for this. So it creates this more dynamic experience with tension and stress relief in between. And in those spikes, it becomes more memorable, right? You don't remember those easy levels that you completed, but you're gonna remember that very difficult one that you had. But of course, the risk is it can cause a frustration in those difficulty spikes, and you can be like, I'm not gonna play this game anymore, I'm dropping it. So it's hard to get to that flow state, which I'm gonna be talking about very soon. But and it's also very difficult to design too. These are the ones that, the balancing is the most difficult, that we have the most problem with. Okay, there's a different type of way of adjusting the difficulty, and that's the dynamic difficulty adjustment. This is how we classify it. So this is basically using certain tools or certain methodologies to constantly reiterate our game based on the player feedback. So we get player feedback, we collect data from players, and we constantly reiterate our difficulty, rebalance it. We see these kind of difficulty adjustments in PvP games. Think about it. You want to be matched to whatever your level is, right? You don't want to be matched to someone too easy or too difficult for you. But if you go up in the game, if you increase your skill level, then you're going to want a new difficulty. You're going to want to be matched again, players around your difficulty. So it's more dynamic. It adjusts to the player's skill level, and it's more interesting, of course. It keeps the game fresh for you, but it does require, again, balancing. And we always hear that, oh, this game's matchmaking is terrible. I'm facing players so much higher than me. I'm not playing anymore. So yeah, that's the usual complaint that we see in these kind of PvP games, right? Okay. Regardless of which difficulty curve is right for a game, our goal is always needs to be to find that sweet spot, the sweet spot of difficulty. So what is it? Okay, it's that mental state where a person is fully immersed in the game, they're experiencing a sense of enjoyment, fulfillment, achievement, etc., etc. So it's basically that zone between the frustration, like the game is too frustrating, or boredom. So it's that perfect spot. It's usually a little above your level or at your level, so that you still sense that feeling of accomplishment. You still need to improve yourself a little bit, but it doesn't look like it's a hard paywall or like I'm definitely not going to be able to do this. So yeah, it tries to keep the player in that state where they're not going to churn out, hopefully. So of course, it's not easy to design, but there are some cues and some tidbits to like designing a flow state. And it of course starts with the tutorial. It's really important that players should understand how to play the game. Everything should be concise, transparent, should be encouraging from the start, right? And it should also be supported with visual and audio and physical cues. So players should be able to understand what's the threat in the game. And like when I play a level, am I understanding that this is going to be harder than the other ones? Like it should be transparent to the players. It should also have the feedback system where players need to be understanding that the steps they take or the moves they make, they're actually helping them or not helping them, so they're not lost in the game. So it's overall making sure that the players have a transparent gaming experience and they understand like the actions that they take in the game are actually helping them or not. Okay, I think we probably knew, but I think we understand better about our player bases, our difficulties, or difficulty designing game. But the topic was to, like, how can we leverage that for monetization, right? So it's by creating these things that we call psychological triggers, where it's going to encourage players to, yeah, I'm going to maybe consider this monetization tool. But so what is this? Yeah, what are these monetization tools? First, let's have a refresher quickly. I know in other presentations they talked about like some of the monetization tools. I'm going to quickly touch base on them, but I'm not going to spend too much time on them. So we have the in-app purchases, like currency packs, like things we probably like know, but yeah, bundles and limited time offers, subscriptions, live ops offers like battle passes and season passes, and gacha and loot boxes. We also have the rewarded ads. So some of the benefits of rewarded ads, and usually there's like a misconception in industry where like ads might be intimidating for players, right? And it could be true, but we have been experiencing that like when you implement the rewarded ads correctly and in a healthy way, it gives a different avenue for players who don't want to pay into your game to gain more resources and being able to at least like compete with people who choose to pay. And it also like keeps the light on, right, in our studios. We also see that it also helps to increase session times because once you have more resources, you have more reasons to keep playing the game. And the good thing about them is that they're non-intrusive. If you don't want to engage with them, that's perfectly fine. Like, don't touch them. Keep playing your game. And if it's done correctly, they should obviously be giving tangible rewards and like some real value to the player. And I think Dominic mentioned that as well. So the thing about free-to-play games is that even if they're done correctly, we only see like 3 to 4% of players actually paying real money to the game. So 96% we can never monetize with in-app purchases, right? And this is for like more comparatively more successful game. So we have to like utilize rewarded videos. I know like when we say rewarded videos, I can see you guys are saying like, damn it, ads again, but I mean, that's the reality. Like, we need to pay the bills, right? So, so of course, we have other advertisement tools like interstitials, banners, and offer wall, etc. But I wanted to mention these two because the topic was to how can difficulty utilize monetization tools, right? Like, usually we see these two tools benefit from correctly balanced difficulty the most, and like how players can engage with the different monetization tools. Okay, so I talked about the monetization tools. Let's go back to those psychological triggers that I mentioned. This is actually my favorite part of the presentation. We have the scarcity and urgency. we all like Black Friday deals, right? I'm sure like most of the years we buy something, and why do we like it? Because first we get a good deal out of it, it's a good sale, and it's limited time, like we're not gonna get it always. So I think this feeds into that perfectly, like the fear of missing out. Oh, I need to buy this before it runs out. So this is like very common in gaming too. I'm sure some of you implement in your games as well. And it feeds into that external motivation. Like you don't want to, if I go back, the external motivation was the motivation coming from the rewards after the game. And in these cases, we usually don't want to miss out on that special reward or like a very good deal that we can get after the game. And we have the loss aversion. I bet anyone likes losing in a game. We don't want to lose. We want to be able to continue our progress. This is basically that. So in order to not interrupt our progress, we want to be able to utilize into that fear of losing and losing our progress and like going back, doing it all over again. So this feeds into that. We have the sunk cost fallacy. So when we see that how much money we can save, I think that's attractive for most people. We want to get a good deal, as I said. I think starter packs utilizes this pretty good. You usually get the best deal you can get in a game in starter packs. And again, going back to Dominic's presentation, if you were here, and if you're not, he was talking about that. We have actually not too long of a time to convert users into payers. After 2 to 3 weeks, the probability goes very down a lot. So starter packs are very useful when it comes to capturing those early players, right? And we have this thing called endowment effect. Any Americans in the audience? Or not Americans, but people live in America? If not, there's this retail store, my favorite retail store called Costco. Maybe you heard. They do it perfectly, and it's one of my favorite things, which shows me that I'm getting old too. I like going to Costco. But if you go to Costco, you'll see a lot of food stands, and they have like the mac and cheese, the bacon, and like all kinds of stuff. And behind those food stands, you can get those items in bulk. So this is basically that. Like they make you try a sample, and if you like it, you can get the premium item in the back of the stand. So you in the games too, like we see this being implemented a lot. You get a little bit of taste of that premium item for free or with rewarded video. If you like it a lot, there's a chance that you're going to pay money to buy it in bulk. So it's the same mentality. And we have the anchoring. So this is, if you do fine dining, look at the wine menus. You'll see the expensive wines in front, then you're going to see the cheaper wines after that. It's the same thing. You show the expensive IAP item first, then you're going to show the cheaper one, and they're going to be like, why am I paying for the expensive one? I can get the cheaper one as well. That's enough for me. So this is basically that. Okay, as you can see, like a lot of the things that I talk about, of course, not rocket science. They're very simple things that we see in our daily lives, like other industries, other walks of life, right? It's just basic. It's the reflection of those strategy or instincts of humans or desires to consume in different ways, reflected on the gaming environment. So, and there are some strategies to utilize those reflections, those desires, and for example, the fail and success strategies. I said that we don't want to lose in a game. We have the loss aversion fear in us, but there's also the getting extra rewards after completing, having an accomplishment, right? Like I can watch a rewarded video after I complete a level. I multiply my reward. So it utilizes loss aversion, and one of the important things with that is that it shouldn't feel like forced into the player. It shouldn't feel mandatory. And yeah, so the next one is the milestone strategies. So maybe in some games you've seen this thing, when you complete a world or stage or whatever, you get this special package, a special offer only for that time, right? Like for example, for 24 hours, then it goes away when you start the next level or whatever. Spatial to that completion. So it does create that emotional bond between the game and the player. Now you have this offer just because you completed it. And one thing we notice is that it also creates the habitual practice for players. Like they look forward to having these new, more specialized offers just because they complete the level. So it helps with stuff like retention and repurchase rates as well. We have the stretch goals. So sometimes in games, you see that you'll get an extra reward if you complete 10 levels. And these are good opportunities to implement certain rewarded ads maybe. Could be some kind of currency spend as well. Just different surface points where you accelerate that progress. And yeah, it utilizes that sunk cost fallacy because in the end, you're going to get a better reward. Like instead of completing a 10 level to get that reward, you can do it in 7 level. So this basically feeds into that. We also call this goal gradient effect as well. The closer you get to completing the level, the more you want to be engaged with it. Okay, we have the live ops strategies. Live ops is a great avenue in general for monetization because you can utilize everything with live ops. Because live ops means new game modes, new characters, new teams, new everything. It's a new channel. So you can utilize all kinds of strategies, all kinds of psychological triggers to improve and expand your monetization. Okay, balancing challenge and fairness. Making a proper difficulty, of course, comes with the challenges. The age-old complaint with the games, like I'm sure some of you are gamers, and what we usually hear is that it doesn't feel fair. The difficulty is broken, like it's not well managed, and yeah. So this has an issue with maintaining the player's trust. Players are so easy to lose trust in game, and the reasons are like the difficulty spikes don't feel fair, the monetization practices don't feel ethical sometimes because they don't feel transparent. Players usually don't sometimes don't understand what they're getting if they engage with different monetization tools. And it's an important thing to factor. Like it's always important to be transparent to the players. And also the rewarding system. Sometimes players don't feel like they're getting what they deserve. I've been investing this much time in the game, but I'm nowhere near other people who decide to pay. And of course, like paying must have privileges, but if sometimes we look at it from the player's perspective, which is always important to consider, we need to make them feel like they are rewarded for their time and skill and efforts in order to not create this unhealthy environment with games. I think we see this all the time with like big games that has community, that talk about it, right? That has discussions about it. And it comes with issues with protecting retention. Like we usually see the reflection of it with poor retention performance. And what we need to do is to avoid frustration-induced churn. So we need to follow our player funnels to see, okay, where we're having a problem, where we're getting stuck when it comes to keeping the players in game. So player funnels are maps to successes for us. I'll talk about it very soon. And I talked about different difficulty curves. It doesn't mean that our game has to follow one. We can diversify. We can try to capture more types of players. We can try to cater to both casuals, mid-cores, hardcores. I mean, that's the ideal world, right? So we can experiment with the hybrid difficulty curves. Use a difficulty curve of one for one game mode, a different one for other, or combine it based on the time spent in game. It's just all about understanding different options and utilizing all. And of course, hopefully, it's going to bring long-term satisfaction for our players. Okay, before you guys fall asleep, last topic. We're close to the finish line. Hang in there. Measuring success. So most of you, I'm sure, like already follow these KPIs. But I still wanted to talk about them just in case we have more newcomers for the industry. We have our player funnels. We have our engagement metrics, IAP metrics, ad monetization metrics, the usual suspects. Player funnels are usually the visualization of steps each players take from start of from their install to where they're left at in the game. Some of the KPIs that we usually look at are churn rates or time to complete a level, and et cetera, and et cetera. For example, if you look at this churn rate around level 6 and 7, we see that players are stopping to drop the game. So we go back to our difficulty. Maybe that's the reason, or something else. We go back to our game, and we try to solve it. We ask questions. Why are they dropping it? So it's important for us to pinpoint exactly where and why players are stop playing our game. Of course, we have the player engagement, like the retentions and session rates. It's the player's commitment to a game in terms of how they are retained and how long they play the game, how frequently they play the game. It allows us to understand the quality of installs that we observe in our game. Like, are we acquiring players from a healthy region or in healthy ways? Or it also allows us to ask questions about, again, our game design. Is the game broken? Like, do players, what kind of complaints players have? So we can ask all these questions if we track these important metrics. We have the IAP stuff. It's the player's behavior around the IAP offerings that we have. We know what it is, the IAP revenues, revenue per active users, the conversion rates, most popular items in the game, the repurchase rates. Do people buy the item a second time or not? It's important because it allows us to understand how attractive our game's IAP and how balanced our in-game economy is to, like, do players actually need to make a purchase or not? We can ask all kinds of questions like this. And lastly, the ad metrics. Similar to IAP, it's the player's behavior around the advertisement tools in the game. We have the ad revenues, eCPMs, which is, as most of you know, revenue per 1,000 impression, right? Because if we break it down to impression, there's a lot of zeros. So we round it to 1,000, and we call it eCPM. We have the engagement rates, how many of our active users are actually clicking those ads. We have the usage rates. The ones who click on the ads, how many times do they click in a day? These show us how healthy our ad placements are, and it also asks questions about, again, the economy. Like, do I need to click on these ads? Or I can get all the rewards that I need just from the gameplay. So yeah, it allows us to understand the offerings, the ad placement offerings in the game. Okay, to top it off, thank you for holding on. I haven't seen anyone falling asleep, so that's good. We learned that the difficulty and monetization can go hand in hand. We can leverage difficulty into monetizing our games better. We started off with understanding player psychology. We understood that there are casuals, mid-cores, hardcores, nerds, whatever. We have the difficulty curves, different type of difficulty designs. We have the sweet spot of difficulty, where it's not too hard, where it's not too easy. It's more balanced, more healthy. We have the intersection of difficulty curves and monetization, where we can leverage the difficulty into monetizing our games. And we have of course, challenges when it comes to making the game more balanced, making sure the players are not complaining about how unbalanced and how unfair the game is, right? And of course, we finished it off with understanding some of the KPIs in a more surface level. But yeah, thank you for sticking. Any questions?